Hello everyone, it's Ian back with another reaction. So I watch this stuff all the time. I'm a pretty big fan of Tesla. Um, so I wanted to. I'm gonna watch this stuff anyway. I might as well do a reaction to it and add some content to the channel. And maybe it'll be interesting to somebody else. But I do watch this guy sometimes. My favorite one is actually the Tesla Daily, Rob Maurer. I think he's the most even keel of most of them. I'm not saying that not all of them are, but I happen to like Rob Maurer because he also starts with financial information, and I have Tesla stock. So let's do a reaction to this video. I don't know how it's going to go, but I've never done a reaction video quite like this. Some of the stuff this guy says I agree with, and some of it I don't. And there's obviously a little bit of Tesla fanboy going on here, but let's see what he's got to say. Let's go.
In the last 72 hours, there's been quite a lot of Tesla news. You've probably missed at least some of it. Too much for me to make a separate video for each bit of Tesla news. So let's get straight into it. Here's the most interesting, or most relevant and important Tesla news over the past 72 hours. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Sam Evans. I'm coming to you from Bangkok in Thailand. Yes, I know, I'm not very Thai looking. I'm actually from Melbourne in Australia. But I'm here at the moment for, most of you know why. I won't get into that. Tesla, in this last 72 hours, there's been some interesting developments. The first of those is Marques Brownlee released a video showing that Tesla's wireless charging, meaning it's wireless charging for your devices, your mobile devices, not actual wireless charging, which, by the way, they actually do plan to release a wireless charger for your car. I made a video about that. That was actually shown at Tesla's Investor Day, recent day, which was not very long ago. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see my video about Tesla's wireless charging. But speaking of Tesla's in-car wireless charging, the Tesla wireless charging platform has been praised by Marques Brownlee for its superior quality, which is arguably the best on the market today, he says. So in December of 2022, Tesla announced the launch of a wireless charging platform, a wireless charger capable of simultaneously charging up to 3 devices. This concept is similar to AirPower, which Apple wanted to create, and Tesla's wireless charging platform provides 15 watts of fast charging per device for 3 devices simultaneously, which is a pretty cool feature. Apparently it works really well, says Marques Brownlee. So that's kind of a cool thing to know if you're into that kind of thing, which I personally am, because I hate. Here's why this is a big feature, because these cables suck. They suck. You know how many of these I've had to buy? This must be the 30th cable I've had to buy over the last few years. So being able to do that, get rid of that, and just not worry about cables, that's actually a bigger deal than it sounds like if you own an...
You know, I was kind of late to adopt wireless charging in a sense. So I think some of it came from my idea that wireless charging is not as good for the battery as plugging in with a cable. So I still use a cable in some of my life, but I have this really beautiful Belkin charger that I really like because I do have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, AirPods Pro. And so I thought it was kind of expensive, but I ended up buying it once I had all 3 items because I thought, you know what, I can justify it a little bit. It's still super expensive. I think it's $180 Canadian or something like that for the charger. One of those treat myself kind of deals. But I'll show a picture of it here. But I really like it. And wireless charging for me has been a bit of a slow adopter there. But I think, we're going that direction, right? Everything's going to have to be wireless at some point because I know they're going with USB-C in the Apple iPhone, and because of EU regulations. So that Tesla one, if I recall, is pretty darned expensive too. I think it's a couple $100. Love to get one as a gift one day, but I don't know if there's one in my immediate future. All right, let's keep going.
Apple iPhone. Next, in news that has just come out, Eva Fox from Tasmanian says that Tesla is the #1 choice in UBS's EV consumer survey. UBS reaffirmed its buy recommendation and $220 price target for Tesla following the UBS Evidence Labs 7th wave of EV consumer survey. Tesla was the #1 choice for buying an electric car. A UBS survey of more than 10,000 participants shows that 46% of consumers are likely to consider buying an EV. This is 3% less than in 2022. And I saw a recent survey from Reuters that says only 36% of Americans would consider an EV. The rest of them say no. This is quite different, isn't it? 46% versus 36%. But this survey was a bigger one than the Reuters survey. I'm going to guess in the Reuters survey they probably intentionally tried to eliminate some of the respondents they thought might skew the poll towards EVs. That's what it looks like. Anyhow, despite the general decline in consumer interest in buying EVs, this has not affected Tesla. The manufacturer maintained its lead in the brand survey. According to the data, 42% of potential EV buyers are considering buying a Tesla, up from 41% last year. So not a huge difference, but it is a slight improvement. That's a good thing. Now I should point out though, that whilst Tesla maintained its lead in basically every market in the world, it did lose its first place ranking in China to BYD. Probably BYD has more options, a bit more affordable, possibly. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, there's also some data compiled showing the most anticipated...
Sorry, just going to pause it for a second there. So he's talking about China's largest electric car manufacturer, BYD. From what they've got a significant lead over Tesla in terms of sales, but they also, I believe, they sell ICE vehicles, they sell hybrids, and they sell EVs as well. And obviously, they're a local brand; they're well established there. They're using iron-based batteries as well, I think, so that helps them bring their costs down. By all accounts, the cars are decent, along with a lot of the other Chinese manufacturers like NIO, XPeng, and others. There's something like over 100 electric car manufacturers, and the Chinese government has been calling for consolidation of those because there's so many electric car companies. But BYD, of course, being the largest, and they can leverage economies of scale because they're also one of the largest battery manufacturers as well, of course, right? So they're making their own batteries, kind of like Tesla is. So that's kind of what he's referencing here about BYD. Let's keep going.
Electric cars this year for all American searches. Now, about 10 times as many people have actually searched for the Cybertruck or are interested in the release of the Cybertruck versus any other electric vehicle coming out this year. Makes sense. There's more than 1.6, I think about 1.7 million pre-orders now for the Cybertruck. There's a hell of a lot of interest.
I have a pre-order, but
now, Tesla has rolled out a
car,
safety
so I won't
score
be getting
2.0. I'm not a big fan of these safety score things, but anyhow, it comes with new factors for a more accurate grade. Joey from Teslarati says that Tesla's rolled out safety score 2.0 with new factors that will make your driving score more accurate, making insurance rates more aligned with driving behaviors. Safety score is an assessment of your driving behavior. I'm glad they aren't assessing mine.
Sorry, just go back to the comment I made. The other side of that too is that I'm not a big car guy. What I mean is I'm not a large vehicle person. I like small cars. Like one of my cars, I've had a couple of Audi TTs. I've had a lot of GTIs and Golf Rs, little cars, right? Right now I have a Volkswagen Caddy, which is like a European imported van, little van. It's a manual diesel. Show a picture of it here. But generally I don't like big vehicles. So as cool as Cybertruck is to me, I don't think that I would buy one anyway, even if I could afford it. I am more inclined to get a Model 3, either a long range or a performance. I'm not sure yet, but I think that'll probably be my my first EV is a Model 3. So anyway, let's keep going.
That can affect your insurance rates. Well, actually, right now I'm not driving a car at all. The only thing I drive is an electric skateboard, but that's because I'm in Bangkok. The safety score is an estimate of various factors that can determine the likelihood of an accident. An aggregated safety score helps drivers learn how they can be safer on the roads, and they are graded from 0 to 100. Now, I think this safety score thing is kind of cool when it's just looked at as a single measurement. You can see how safe your driving is and give you an idea of what you're doing, maybe what you could do better. But when it's used for, whether or not you get access to full self-driving, that's the part that I'm not really all that in favor of. What do you think? Let me know. Now, Tesla released the third version of...
On that point, if what he's saying is that your safety score, so if for those that don't understand, so Tesla is offering insurance in some states, and so they've got because they've got the cameras, they've got the metrics, they know exactly what the car is doing at any given time. They will rate your driving, your rating. They'll give you a rating on the level of your safety. I'm saying that all wrong. On how safe of a driver you are, and I believe it affects your insurance rates, right? So if you're really, really aggressive on the throttle or the brakes, taking high G turns or whatever, they'll probably increase your rates because you're a greater risk due to those particular types of behaviors. I think what he's saying is that the rollout of autopilot or FSD, full self-driving, as a beta testing, for example, is if you have a lower safety score, I think the thinking is that you will not maybe pay attention as well, and you're not going to make a great tester, because for full self-driving as a beta, you're deploying it to the public to be beta testers, and if you're not going to be a reliable beta tester from a safety standpoint, you're not going to get it. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me. I know he mentioned that he's not super happy about that, but I think that makes a lot of sense if the metrics can be fairly reliable. And over such a large data set, I think that's actually probably a pretty good way to go, because one, it can be dangerous if you're not paying attention, and I think that you're going to get perhaps better results that way from your testing fleet. So anyway, let's keep going.
Its safety score today being labeled as safety score 2.0. Tesla said the new feature has 2 new safety factors and updates how driving behaviors are measured. These include added excessive speeding as a new safety factor. More time spent driving over 85 miles per hour will lead to a lower safety score. Now, yeah, I'm actually okay with that, because 85 miles an hour, that's very fast. If you're going faster than that, yeah, that's fair enough. Now, I'm not going to get into the other scores on the list here, the other factors, but it is worth pointing out that Tesla first rolled out safety score in September of 2021 and used it as a way to incentivize safe driving habits. Initially with the rollout of the request full self-driving button, safety scores of 98 or better were awarded access to the full self-driving beta pool. Now, access requirements to the pool have been lowered over time, so you don't have to get a 98 anymore to get into that beta. However, if you want to get Tesla insurance, your safety score is something that they look at. It probably makes sense, really. This is one area Tesla has a huge advantage over other insurers. Now, as Tesla sells more and more cars, they can sell you more and more things, including insurance, and you can contact Tesla and say, hey, I want to get my premiums, and Tesla will know how good of a driver you are, what your real risk factors are, not just guesses. The average insurance company just guesses. It's really just guesswork. So Tesla will actually know what your risk factors are.
It's a hell of an innovation. I mean, I know that there are other types of things like this where insurance companies will put a unit in your OBD port, or they'll send you a unit, you plug it into your OBD port, and it broadcasts certain information. But given how interconnected Teslas are with their cameras and all those other metrics, it's going to be more accurate. It's going to be far more personal, I think, in that case, especially the scale of it, right? Because every single Tesla has the cameras, has the FSD hardware available in the car. Whether you paid for FSD or not, they can still accumulate that data, which is exactly why they're so advanced in FSD. I find it interesting that especially there's a lot of people that really don't understand what's happening in this space, and they're talking about GM Super Cruise and how Mercedes got a level 3 approval in a certain section of the city. What Tesla is doing with FSD is fundamentally different than what other companies are doing, in that the other companies are kind of they have guardrails in a lot of those systems, right? So they're tested in specific areas, and I think when this kind of started, when FSD or full self-driving or autonomy started, they had kind of envisioned specialized roads where you'd have sensors in them and stuff like that. I'm going back a bit of a ways. What Tesla's doing is essentially you could drop a Tesla at any place on Earth with a road, and it will be able to figure out how to drive itself. And that is a huge difference. It's just why it's taking so long, and the other companies, maybe in some eyes, seem to be getting more ahead. But that's actually not really what's happening. The amount of data that Tesla's been able to collect is staggering, and far beyond what most other companies are able to look at. So, to those naysayers on FSD, yeah, it's a struggle. There's a lot going on with it, and it's a really, really hard problem to solve. But I think that if Tesla can actually solve it with how they're doing it, where it doesn't matter if the road is known to it or not, it may have never seen the road in its life. Also, navigation information may be incorrect, and it'll figure it out anyway. I think that's a huge deal, and I think a lot of people are missing that point. So anyway, let's keep going.
I'd be up to decide whether or not it makes financial sense for them to insure you. Huge advantage there for Tesla, and it's also an advantage for the consumer. You can get cheaper insurance. You should be able to anyway. Now, this is one cool feature. Tesla has shipped a new feature that eliminates the worst part of cabin heat. If you get into your car, it's really cold outside, jump into your car in the morning or at night, whenever, turn on your heater, and it blasts cold air at you. And you've got to wait for maybe a minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, depends on what car you have, how long it takes for the heat to get going before those vents start sending hot air at you. Kind of sucks because you're already cold and you might be shivering and you maybe just came out of a blizzard. But either way, I've had that experience happen to me heaps. Now, Tesla's a new feature. It eliminates that from happening. If you want to use it, you turn it on, then it will only blast air out of the vents when that air is at the temperature that you want it to be.
Yeah, I heard about this feature. Good feature to have. It's a nice addition to Tesla models. I don't think that Tesla's the first to do this. I think there's other companies that have thought of this as well. So there's probably other cars that have this, but it's a good feature to add to the car. And what's really cool is it didn't require a dealer visit. It's gonna be an over-the-air update, an OTA. That is significant, right? Because even if another manufacturer, let's say, whoever, doesn't matter, but if they wanted to do this type of update, if they could even do it, you'd probably need to go to the dealer to get it updated if it didn't come with it from the factory. So one of Tesla's massive advantages is its plethora of OTAs, and that's a pretty big deal. One of the things that helps improve the Tesla ownership experience. Let's keep going.
When you've set that temperature, that's when it will actually kick in. So it will actually circulate the air within the HVAC system before it blasts it out to you. So you're not going to get that freezing cold blast of air. I like this feature. I think it's actually a more practical feature than a lot of the new features that I've seen on many cars. One of my favorite. Very, very cool, especially if you live somewhere where it's really cold and you might routinely use this. You might use this every day. It's practical. Let me know what your thoughts are on that one. Now, in some other weird news you might have seen on the channel, I made a video about this. Hyundai secretly rented someone bought a Tesla Model 3. They've rented out part-time on TUFO to make a bit of extra money. A Hyundai staffer secretly rented it on TUFO. Then they tested, benchmarked the car, did a bunch of things to it to see what it was like, and tried to pretend that they did nothing. But the owner of the car was able to actually use the cameras in the car to see what was really going on. And it eventually turned out Hyundai secretly admitted, that yes, they were benchmarking it against the new Ioniq 6. Bit cheap, in my opinion. I think too cheap. I think Hyundai should have just bought a Model 3 or go to...
Yeah, that seems really weird, that a manufacturer would rent a car to look at it, that they wouldn't buy one. I guess it depends on what their extent is, right? I mean, if they were going to do a teardown, obviously you can't rent somebody's car and tear it down. But I would find it hard to believe that Hyundai hasn't torn down a Tesla before. I haven't heard about that. Maybe they have, I don't know. But that's kind of funny. Maybe it was a local office. What country was that in? Was that in the US? Let's see if he talks about it.
Maybe go to Hertz, rent one legit from Hertz. Yeah. I mean, General Motors, they did that. Ford did it. GM, I saw that they actually purchased a Model 3 a couple of years ago. That's the right way to do it, Hyundai. That's what I think. In China, Tesla recalled 2,650 Model S's. These EVs, of course, were imported from the US. Tesla doesn't make the Model S in China. Now, the reason these were recalled was because of issues with a front trunk latch.
An old one.
Apparently, a couple of them have disengaged and the trunk has come open while the car was moving. That would be a bit scary. So they've recalled those. I'm imagining that it won't be too bad to fix. There's 2,850 of those that need to be fixed. So if you're in China, take your car in and Tesla will fix that. One other cool feature, Tesla...
Sorry, I just want to mention something. So a lot of Tesla, if they have recalls, and there's a lot of people jumping up and down every time a Tesla recall comes out, oh my goodness. But if you look at the recall list for other manufacturers, recalls are incredibly common for all manufacturers. The difference is that Tesla can fix most of these over the air. They don't require a dealer visit, and that makes a big difference in the customer's experience, right? As far as a door latch goes, or a trunk latch, I don't think they can probably fix that over an OTA, but what the heck do I know? Maybe they can change the resistance on the strength of the latch. I have no idea what the problem is, but if they can, they will. I remember back in the day when the Model 3 first came out, Consumer Reports had tested the vehicle and said that they wanted to give it a recommended buy rating, but they couldn't because the braking was substandard. Not too long after, Tesla issued an OTA to improve the brakes, and then the car performed way better, and Consumer Reports was able to give it a recommended buy. That is not something I've ever seen happen with another manufacturer, and it's again because of the strength of the fact that they can do over-the-air updates. It's a big deal, and I think a lot of people overlook that. So anyway, let's keep going.
Is now using vision for park assist distance calculations. It's not using automation. Apparently, it now works better. The cameras in Tesla's EVs know how far the car is from obstacles based on data from their built-in cameras. Now, keep in mind, These cameras will get better with the new Highland Model 3 and Highland Model Y. That's one of the differences. One of the big changes being made is better cameras, more of the cameras being installed. Apparently there's going to be 2 extra cameras as well. So this new feature will be a bit different in these newer cars. But for the time being, this is how it will work. Tesla's vehicles rely solely on their built-in cameras for advanced driver assist system features, and the park assist technology actually went away for a little while. The reason was that when Tesla first switched to the vision-only setup, some features disappeared, and that was during validation testing. Tesla has now reinstated those features after validation testing, and apparently they work pretty well from the first tests that I've seen. Now, apparently this new vision-only technology will actually significantly improve Tesla vehicles' park assist, which wasn't as great as it could have been. Tesla's system reportedly doesn't rely on any sensors or radar. It analyzes the distances around it simply based on what the cameras see. The cameras work together along with the car's onboard processor to figure out what's around the car to help the driver park it more safely. However, there's no automation just yet. Right now, it's just an assist feature. So you still got to drive it yourself, but the car will basically give you an additional aid. It shows the driver the distances to surrounding objects to aid with your driving or to aid with your parking. So it provides visuals and audio cues to the driver, but there's no automation yet. That's planned for the future. I'm going to guess the Highland models will have that automation. Tesla released a Model S and X.
Speaking of that, so when Tesla originally announced that they were going to discontinue the ultrasonic sensors, my gut reaction was that seems like a weird thing to do, taking away an element. And this sort of bleeds into them also taking away LiDAR from the cars. Tesla had said that they thought that they could get better results out of just cameras. And the thinking behind this is that we live in a world that is designed for human eyes and hands. And so a car should be able to do the same thing with vision and better, right? Like whether there's 7 or 9 cameras on the car, we only have 2 eyes, we can only look one direction at a time, whereas a car with some kind of AI in it and processing power can process all of this stuff. So in theory, a car with that many cameras and that much computational power can outclass a human many times over. And I'm inclined to probably agree with that on the surface. But when they said they weren't going to do ultrasonic sensors and or LiDAR to a lesser extent anymore, I had to stop and think about that for a second. But then I realized that Tesla's focus is on efficiency and efficiency in manufacturing. And so if you think about it, if they don't have to have LiDAR sensors and if they don't have to have ultrasonic sensors, that reduces the complexity of manufacturing. You've got not just the sensors in the bumper and cost for those parts, but you've also got wiring, and it goes into control modules. Then you've got to have additional lines of code to calculate it. When it comes to the cameras, they're using all of that stuff for full self-driving anyway. So as an extension of park assist and being able to see what's around you, to replace the function of an ultrasonic sensor is actually quite brilliant. And if they can solve that, like he was showing how it works there. I did see a few other videos on it, and it's still kind of a first release, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And it gives you measurements, like it'll say, okay, your front bumper is 21 inches away from the object in front of you. That's pretty impressive to do with just cameras. I don't know that anybody else has done anything quite like that, where it's replacing the function of an ultrasonic sensor with strictly camera. So I think that's pretty brilliant. So I understand the move now, and if they can make it very reliable, then I think it's a great feature and it's wonderful for manufacturing. The other thing too is when I was selling cars for a long time, I sold Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche for close to 2 decades. Anecdotally, so we're calling this anecdata, I would seem to notice that people with bumper damage often already have sensors on their car. I think you start to trust them a little too much, and maybe sensors aren't as accurate as they could be. So maybe there's a potential that with a good camera system and software, that these could be theoretically better than the sensors in general. So I think that's a real big, a really interesting win for Tesla. Anyway, let's keep going.
Steering wheel retrofit. So some people didn't like the yoke steering wheel. It was a flat-shaped steering wheel. A lot of people thought it was a bit ridiculous. Obviously, Tesla did that so you could completely see the digital screen in front of you. However, a lot of people didn't want it, so therefore Tesla released a normal steering wheel, which you could buy, but it's been so popular, it's already sold out. So you can see that, yeah, it was a winner. And there was probably enough customers that complained about it that Tesla went, yeah, okay, sure, we'll give you a normal one. That's what I suggested they should do from the start. I'm going to guess a lot of people suggested they should do that from the start. Another cool feature just released, well, at least smart from Tesla's point of view, in terms of making more money, is their new extended warranty. You can get a new warranty. You can pay for this warranty. It costs $1,700 US for a Model 3, about $2,000 US for a Tesla Model Y, if you want to get an extra 2 years on top of your existing warranty. But there's one issue with this. It doesn't cover the powertrain, it doesn't cover the battery, it doesn't cover the motors, and it's only available in the United States. But it might be a nice little earner for Tesla.
I would think that for an electric car owner, that the battery and the powertrain would be the biggest concern, the biggest reason you would buy a warranty. I gotta dig into that a little bit. I wonder, there's gotta be a reason. You know, Tesla's very targeted with how they do things. Elon's not so targeted with the things he says on Twitter, but Tesla's very targeted about the things they do. So there must be a very important reason why they're not extending powertrain. I thought the powertrain had a longer warranty anyway, so if this is an additional 2 years for a couple $1,000, it sounds to me like that would give it a total of 6 years. I think the standard warranty is 4 years. And isn't the battery warranty for 8? Is that maybe why? Because it's already covered under a different warranty? I don't know. Anyway.
Now here's probably the biggest story of the week. The cheapest Tesla Model 3 comes with lithium iron phosphate batteries. Those are made by CATL. Well,
I think he's going to talk about the fact that they're no longer going to qualify for the government incentive because they are Chinese-made batteries and not locally made batteries.
The cells are made by CATL. They then ship those cells to the US. Tesla packages them, puts them into the cheapest Model 3, and then you can buy what is now one of the most best value for money cars in America. It's really good value, especially since it qualifies for the US $7,500 tax incentive. But Tesla has said, good chance in a few weeks, maybe a month from now, that model will no longer qualify because there'll be changes to the IRA, meaning if you want one of these cars, if you want to get the $7,500 US discount, you need to pretty much buy it straight away. I think if you're in the market for a new car, and this is the kind of car you want, if you want a sedan, then I'd be jumping on this straight away. I'll put a link in the description to my video about more details about this. Tesla's price war may lead to automakers closing up shop in China, say some analysts. Tesla really started the ball rolling here, but the truth is Tesla's been blamed for something that wasn't just caused by Tesla. A bunch of automakers had also reduced their prices in China, and Tesla just went, yeah, you know what? We're going to do it as well. Now everyone's blaming Tesla, saying Tesla reducing their prices, it's not fair. Some of the biggest legacy automakers in the world are saying Tesla is doing the wrong thing. You know, we shouldn't be lowering prices for consumers. This is not the right way to go about it. Yeah, I think that's what you say when you are losing. I believe Tesla reducing prices worldwide has been a good thing. And it's forced other automakers, and it will if it hasn't already, to bring their prices down. But it will also...
I saw a report that there's a consortium of Chinese automakers. Rather, it seems to, when I look at the list of companies who are a part of it, it seems like pretty much every manufacturer is a part of it except for Tesla. Bosch is on there, of course, Volkswagen, a bunch of Chinese brands, Xpeng and BYD and all those guys. And apparently the association of these manufacturers is complaining that Tesla has started a price war and that it's unfair competition and this kind of thing. I'm kind of two minds of this. Number one, I kind of get what they're saying, because I mean it's a survival mechanism. Like they're getting beat up by Tesla, but the difference is that Tesla is so efficient in their manufacturing that they have the pricing power to be able to do this, right? And from the very beginning, you go right back to the beginning of Tesla and what Elon started to say about Tesla as a brand is the goal is to advance the world to sustainable transportation, full stop. Like that's the goal. And I think it's really interesting when I see articles about the next Tesla killer. I mean, we're not seeing too much of these days. We're not seeing those kinds of articles anymore. But you know, maybe a few years ago we were seeing a lot of that, and it just hasn't happened because of the way that Tesla operates. They're so agile and they're so fast. So again, going back to that, they've never strayed from their mission, and they demonstrate that in all the actions that they do. Like, for example, opening up superchargers to other brands. You know, I know that it was a Democratic initiative Biden kind of pitched it, nothing against Biden, but he kind of pitched it as, Elon's going to open up all these chargers. I think he kind of framed it like it was suggested by the government, but I know that Elon's been talking about that for a long time. It's directly in line with the mission that Tesla has. One of the things I'd like to say is that if Tesla goes out of business tomorrow, they've already won. They've already succeeded, because the whole point of Tesla was to advance the whole world to sustainable transport. What has actually happened is that the major players have not moved quickly enough, so Tesla has had to continue to innovate and continue to dominate in that respect, because they're getting into things because other people aren't doing it. One of the things is like lithium refineries. Tesla is going to be opening up shortly a lithium refinery. I think it's in Texas. And they didn't want to get into that kind of thing, but they're saying, well, nobody's moving fast enough, and this is a need now, so we're just going to do it ourselves. And that's kind of what's led Tesla to be so vertically integrated in terms of making their own seats, making a lot of their own chips, computer chips, and control modules, manufacturing a lot of the vehicle physically in-house, which is not common in the automotive industry. Even if they outsource manufacturing to, say, Magna, or if they're buying parts from suppliers like Faurecia and Lear for seats and things like that, Bosch for electronics, and that complicates the supply chain quite a bit when you're manufacturing and designing a car, because if you have to design a vehicle with all these parts in it, you got to either take something off the shelf from each of those tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers, whatever it is. And if you need to change something, you can't be that agile, because then you have to go through all these different levels, these other companies who have other financial interests as well outside of your own, to try to figure out how to change this to benefit you. And so you're kind of putting all these different pieces together to try to make them work. Whereas Tesla creates a large percentage of their own vehicles, so change can happen very, very quickly. So the fact that they can reduce cost is directly in line with their mission statement. It's not designed, they're not in business in the way that they're trying to put other companies out of business. Tesla's goal is not to become the world's largest car manufacturer. I think that'll just is a byproduct of how they do business, because they've been so fast to react. Anyway, I didn't want to go off on a rant there, but let's get back to
another thing, and that is eliminate some of the weaker companies. Companies such as XPeng, who lost $17,000 per car sold in the fourth quarter of 2022, will continue to struggle. There is about 80 electric car companies in China. Many of those, it's likely, say analysts, will go bankrupt within the next 12 months. That has to happen. There's just too many automakers, and too many of them, they're willing to make a loss to gain market share. That can only go so far. Now, I've seen as well some experts' opinions, spoken to some other channels here on YouTube, people even based in China. They say Tesla is going to struggle massively in China, but I'm not really seeing it. Tesla has sold nearly 40,000 vehicles in the last 2 weeks alone in China. I think they're doing pretty well. I think Tesla and BYD will both do very well over the next 6 months, even if they have to cut prices. BYD has cut prices of their EVs as well. They've shut down a couple of their production lines. This could happen for a while. The Chinese car market is going down, and only the best and strongest players will be likely to be left after the turmoil and the carnage has finished. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, I watch stuff like that all the time. So it's funny, he's in Bangkok because his wife is, I think, undergoing cancer treatment, so he's got to go GoFundMe or a Patreon or something like that to support that. So good on him for being able to do that and help his wife and his family. That's great. He says he's from Australia. He looks Danish to me, Danish or Swedish or something Nordic, and my dad's Danish, so maybe I kind of identify with that. He looks like some of my relatives, I suppose, of my dad's side anyway. But yeah, anyway, let me know your thoughts about that reaction. If you have any questions, I'm always reading the comments. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.